am Samantha Ayers. I'm a 30-year-old white-collar worker. Since I work for a local company in the area, I have never left my parents' house. My mother passed away when I was young, and I was raised by my father and grandparents. My home was both a store and a place to live, and my grandparents ran a little shop downstairs. After my mother's death, my father, who was a cook, quit his job and suddenly decided to become a baker to carry on the family legacy. Even as a young child, I understood why my father started a bakery. It was to say goodbye and welcome back to me. His bread, though simple, was delicious and quickly became popular in the neighborhood. Regular customers, whenever they saw me, would kindly greet me with "Welcome back" and "Is school fun?" Of course, there were days when I felt lonely and couldn't sleep because my mother was no longer with us. But because I received so much love and support from my father and grandparents, as well as from many others who watched over me, I never felt unhappy. Even with all that, I eventually got married. My partner, Kevin Turner, is a colleague from work. Kevin is quite the athlete, being part of the company's club team. He's always hungry, so when I offered him some of my father's bread from time to time, he really appreciated it.
Isn't it heavenly to eat this kind of bread every day?
He, being the emotional type, felt it was important to share this feeling with the baker. So he visited our house and became friendly with my father. My father, who always said,
"If I wasn't a baker, I'd have wanted a big dog,"
seems to adore Kevin's large size and honesty. On weekends, he would take Kevin fishing or to his favorite bar and go around bragging.
"That's my son."
I want to go on a date with Kevin too.
No, today, I've decided to treat Kevin to some delicious calamari. Stop it, don't fight over me.
On weekends, we would act out such scenes and hang out together like a real family of 3. So, when Kevin proposed to me, I was truly overjoyed. But there was one problem for us. 6 months until the wedding. After planning the seating for our wedding, I was supposed to move into Kevin's apartment, where he lived alone. So on weekends, I cleaned his room to make space for myself and cooked for him because he was busy with club team activities. Just when I was enjoying the sweet feeling of our pre-married life, another person started to visit this room, dampening my spirits. Kevin's mother. "It smells a bit like bread in here. Are you taking baths regularly?" These were the first things my mother-in-law said when she came in boldly using her spare key without even buzzing the intercom. "Sorry, but our place smells like freshly baked bread all the way to the bath." "Well, your bread always smells a bit cheap, doesn't it? Why don't you advise your father to focus more on quality ingredients or keep up with the trends? Is the hazelnut for the hazelnut cream properly imported from Europe? Are you using organically grown fruits?" We actually buy the hazelnut cream from a local shop. The fruit is from the nearby grocer. "It's not good to leave everything to such people, you know. If the business fails, don't come crying to us." Okay. I nod along and ignore my ignorant but prideful mother-in-law's lectures. At first, I used to argue back every time, but it was just tiring when I took it seriously, so I stopped. Even when I accept her criticism without resistance, she seems dissatisfied and throws even more sarcastic remarks at me, to the point of being exasperating. I wonder why Kevin chose such an unimpressive girl, especially when I raised him to be a smart and talented athlete. Yes, it's strange, isn't it? Don't just agree, you need to work harder too. I still don't accept you as my daughter-in-law. Okay. I wonder why Kevin grew up under such a mean-spirited person. With a face as round as the Michelin Man, I wonder if she's storing bread in her stomach. Her arms are like pieces of torn bread. She bullies me every time we meet using such childish words. I feel it is disrespectful not only to me but also to the bread. When I offered her my father's bread because she said she wanted to try it, she only took one bite and left it. She flaunts around, eating a $5 Danish pastry bought from a famous hotel as if to show off. Kevin's father is pretty much the same in character. He works for a company with several branches in the state. A few years ago, this area was selected as a new frontier, and Kevin's father was appointed as the branch manager. I think it's really cool how hard he works to be successful and make connections with important people in the community. However, their condescending attitude towards our little bakery home is really getting to me. I mean, I can handle their blunt behavior, but the stress is slowly piling up. Kevin lives alone despite having his parents home within commuting distance, as he's grown wary of their behavior. While he stands up to their snide remarks as much as he can, it's unbearable when he's not around. Honestly, if it weren't them being Kevin's parents, I wouldn't want to know them or have anything to do with them. Then one day, we were summoned by Kevin's father to come to their house for a discussion.
Here's the guest list for the wedding.
Upon our arrival, my father-in-law forcefully hands over the list. There are about 50 names neatly lined up on it.
Who are these people? Aside from relatives, I don't know any of them. Isn't it wonderful? Those are clients from work who insisted on attending.
My father-in-law is beaming proudly at Kevin, whose eyes widen in surprise.
Why do we need to invite so many of your associates? First off, we've only rented a venue for 120 people, so it's impossible. Just reduce the number of guests from the bride's side, then. Huh? But if there aren't many seats from the groom's side, it wouldn't look good, would it? The eldest son's wedding is also a way to demonstrate the family's power and elevate our status. I've never heard of such a thing.
As Kevin glares at his father, his mother interjects, chastising him. No, this is a tradition from long ago. As you're the eldest son of our family, there are many people who require greetings. Unlike Samantha, who grew up in a family-run business.
That's not how...
Next to Kevin, trembling with anger, I gaze at them with cold eyes. I don't want to become such terrible parents like them. Somehow I glanced through the list made by my father-in-law. Then I pulled Kevin's arm. It's okay, Kevin. Mother-in-law, father-in-law, I understand. For the groom's side, including your friends, Kevin, we'll prepare 70 seats. We'll have 10 seats for our company colleagues and 40 seats for the bride's side. Is that all right?
Samantha? Well, surprisingly aware, aren't we? Don't forget the difference in status even on the day of.
Yes. I replied honestly and left my in-laws' house, pulling Kevin, who wanted to say something to me.
I'm sorry, Samantha. I promised that we would only have a wedding with people who would truly bless us. In the car on the way back, Kevin seems to be regretful. Okay, no matter what, those who don't bless us the most will always be in the third row. Besides, when I looked at the guest list, it didn't seem all bad. Huh?
Yeah, there are a few familiar names on the guest list. I'll show the strength of a local bakery owner's daughter. After looking down on people like that, there's no way I'll just obediently follow as a quiet wife. I'll give them a taste of their own medicine. I've endured any bullying, thinking my father, who looked forward to my marriage with Kevin, would be sad. But it seems I was mistaken. Their pride and malice seem bottomless. If I don't fight, I'll be treated like a slave for life. Seeing me burning with a fighting spirit, Kevin is taken aback. And then he laughs, saying,
That's the Samantha I know. Samantha, can I make a suggestion?
What?
Wouldn't it be better to register our marriage after the reception?
Huh? I'm a bit surprised by his unexpected suggestion, but his eyes are dead serious. Got it. I don't know what he's up to, but I've decided to trust him, the one I'll spend the rest of my life with. And the wedding day of our two families arrived. The ceremony went smoothly, with flower petals showering down the aisle, and then we moved on to the reception. After changing only my hair and makeup, I entered with the groom. Samantha! Samantha's so cute!
Hey, the bakery's signature girl!
Cheers and innocent banter filled the entire venue. Not just from the bride's side, but also from the groom's. I couldn't help but smirk as I saw the astonished expression of my father-in-law and the disdainful look of my mother-in-law from the bridal platform. My father-in-law boasted of his connections, including to the many landlords and influential figures deeply rooted in the area. but unfortunately they were all customers of the bakery. For me, they were familiar faces since elementary school days, friendly uncles and aunts. Samantha, you've grown up to be quite the beauty. Aunt Sally.
Can you believe it? Samantha, who used to make our Keith cry after fighting with him, is getting married.
Uncle Larry. Samantha, who used to catch cicadas and stuff them tightly into her insect cage, has become such a graceful girl. Aunt Terence.
I can't believe that Samantha, who used to try eating mushrooms in the park, turned into a girl who looks great in such a nice dress.
Uncle Bill. Everyone is talking nostalgically, but weren't there any more lovely anecdotes? Kevin, listening beside me, looks warm and fuzzy, but my face is beet red.
When the director invited me to the wedding, I actually wanted to decline, but then since I saw the bride was Samantha, I couldn't say no.
Seeing everyone saying this made me laugh unintentionally. So now they're my guests. While my father-in-law and mother-in-law were pouring the drinks, the invited guests seemed to be talking about my childhood. They're both smiling on the surface, but their stomachs are probably churning. They got a taste of my family connections in a situation where they were trying to flex their muscles. My colleagues and bosses at work are also all fans of my father, who brings in bread during the busy season. They seem to be having a lot of fun around my father at the bride's table. So, although there was a lot of speculation going on behind the scenes, the reception ended with the bride's speech in a relaxed atmosphere. We presented bouquets of gratitude to both sets of parents, and then it was time for the groom's father's speech. However, that's when the biggest incident occurred. Kevin's mother snatched the microphone and caused a scene. Ignoring the bustling venue, she began her speech with her proud, melodious voice. Our Kevin has been a prodigy since childhood, excelling in everything he does and being like a treasure to us as a couple. Well, it might be a bit too much parental pride, but it's a lovely sentiment. However, I do regret not teaching him a bit more about choosing women. Huh? As everyone knows, the bride Samantha is restless, rough, and unable to listen to others' words properly. It's her once-in-a-lifetime moment, yet her upper arms are sagging so much. Are you bullying me in front of 120 guests by twisting the heartwarming stories everyone tried to share? Even my father-in-law sitting next to me has a pale face and his mouth agape. But Samantha is the one Kevin chose. I'll make sure to re-educate her as the new mother figure. Right, Samantha? Huh? My mother-in-law suddenly asked for my agreement, and I had to speak up. She was waiting for my response with intense eyes, but I couldn't just nod. My own mother is the only mother I have, and I don't want a mother-in-law with a bad personality. However, I also don't want to stoop to her level by getting into a heated argument. Kevin is a wonderful man who prefers rough and chubby types. Thanks to that, I'm happy, right? Right? As I jokingly talk to Kevin, he strains to smile, even though he's clearly puzzled.
Samantha is the most beautiful woman in the world. I'm sorry, my mother's eyes are so blind.
Kevin, you're being deceived by this woman. Mother-in-law, read the room. At that moment, a low, raspy voice rang out from next to me.
Is that all you have to say?
My father glares at my mother-in-law with a look I've never seen before.
It's true that my daughter may lack some femininity because she didn't have a mother, but she has grown up to be a kind and considerate person. If you insult my daughter like this, I won't forgive you.
What can a mere baker do?
Father-in-law's bread fills people's stomachs and hearts. Unlike you, who can only look down on others.
Huh? My mother-in-law freezes under Kevin's stare. He snatches the mic from her hand and, after a pause, turns to the guests with a terrifyingly perfect smile.
Thank you for being here today to celebrate with us, even with your busy schedules. I apologize deeply for any distressing scenes we may have caused. I'm thrilled to introduce Samantha, my wonderful wife. I know some of you may have worries, especially considering her less-than-ideal in-laws. That's right, that's right!
A jeer comes from the groom's friend's table. My in-laws look nervously in that direction.
But please, rest assured, today marks the end of my association with them. I'm marrying into Samantha's family and taking her last name.
Huh?
Kevin!
The whole venue buzzes with surprise. Even I, who had no prior knowledge of this, am left speechless. Was this why Kevin had put off registering the marriage?
I can't allow that to happen.
That's right. Of course.
Huh? We don't need your consent.
What? Kevin decisively cuts off his parents. Then he lowers his head deeply to my father.
Samantha's father, even though I'm just an ordinary man, would you accept me as part of your family?
The venue falls silent. All eyes are on my father, but he doesn't seem shaken. It's as if he already knew Kevin's feelings.
I've always considered you as part of the family, Kevin. Please take care of this spirited daughter of mine as well.
My father nods his head.
Congratulations!
A loud cheer erupts from the groom's side. This triggers a wave of applause and congratulatory messages. Seeing this, tears involuntarily well up in my eyes. I wonder if my mother somewhere is watching the happiest moment of my life. Swept up in the whirlwind of blessings, the pleas and protests of my in-laws are drowned out. The next day, we submitted our marriage registration at the municipal office. Although Kevin didn't become an adopted son-in-law, he did actually take on my last name. Though I'm a bit worried that he might regret it in the heat of the moment, he's looking at his newly changed driver's license with a relieved expression. It seems he consulted with my father beforehand about taking on my surname. Despite the usual behavior of my in-laws, he showed sincerity in wanting to marry me, even going as far as to kneel down. My father grew to like Kevin even more due to this sincere attitude. There's a mix of happiness and sadness in the bond that has formed between the two more than I imagined. But one thing is for sure, my husband is the best partner. On the other hand, the anger of my in-laws who felt they had lost their son was beyond measure. They threatened to sever ties if Kevin changed his surname, but now they seem flustered since Kevin accepted it. Moreover, it seems they have angered many of the wedding guests by insulting me.
We'll stop doing business with that household because we can't trust them.
I won't recommend this company to my acquaintances. Not only direct rejections, but rumors like the manager there is shady spread like wildfire, causing sales at the branch office to plummet. In this area where obligations and human connections are highly valued, networks can either be a source of strength or a vulnerability. My in-laws are stupid for not knowing that and using others to show their power. My distressed in-laws at one moment came to us as a couple in tears, but then they would flip and threaten or act bewildered and confused. But my husband had no intention of forgiving them at all, and I could finally relax and hide behind him. In the end, my father-in-law, summoned to the headquarters, was reprimanded for his misconduct and apparently demoted by the director. He seems to be working while trembling with humiliation, being looked down upon by subordinates who are younger than he is. Their cherished son was stolen by their hated daughter-in-law, causing my father-in-law to lose his position and my mother-in-law to fall into despair. Furthermore, it seems that their own relatives who were invited to the wedding treated them like outcasts, and Kevin's friends embarrassed his mother, leaving them feeling lost. It turns out Kevin had a younger sister. She seems fed up with the whole ordeal and hasn't returned home from her boyfriend's place. Everything they boasted about has vanished, leaving only a house filled with the worst atmosphere. Both my husband and I can only laugh bitterly at their self-inflicted downfall. And then, 5 years later,
Dad, the rolls are ready. Next, could you help me with this? Sure thing.
in a small workshop, 2 men are bustling around taking care of things. On weekends, my husband started learning how to bake bread under my father's guidance. He really wants to become a baker right away, but since he's also a key player at his job, he's decided to continue as an office worker for a little longer. I quit my job when I got pregnant, and now I manage my father's bread sales online while taking care of our 2 children. My husband started the online sales because he didn't want my father's delicious bread to go to waste. With its simple and rustic charm, my father's bread is easy to sell frozen, and sales have been quite good. Nowadays in my hometown, our children happily munch on the bread baked by my husband and father. These peaceful days are the greatest treasure to me.